Today, the last evening of this course, I'd like to speak about the qualities of a good spiritual friend. If we rely on an unsuitable teacher, then we suffer greatly. And so in a time when we have many teachers of meditation available, many teachers of mindfulness and other varieties of spiritual work, it's very important to choose someone who is reliable as a guide. Because if we rely on a good friend, and if the teacher teaches, and if we ourselves listen to the teaching, then we can gain the peace of Nibbana in this life. So it is very important to be able to choose wisely. So what is a good spiritual friend? What qualities should such a person have? So the Buddha said that in summary, a person with foresight should first try to establish themselves in the teachings of morality, concentration, and wisdom. And only after developing these in oneself should one try to teach others. And then, if one does it like this, then one will be free of criticism. One won't be considered a person who says one thing and does another. One's actions will be consistent with what one teaches to others. Sila means, or morality means not doing or saying wrong things, not transgressing. One controls one's actions and speech so that one doesn't go wrong and so that others don't suffer. One controls oneself out of a feeling for how others may feel if they're harmed. And this is what Sila is, basically, self-restraint. And with this feeling of consideration for others, understanding how others feel, one recognizes what makes one looks at what makes others happy. When people are selfish, they can't do this. When we stop being selfish, then we start giving priority to what will be for the welfare of others. And through keeping Sila, a person, these attitudes of mind develop that one cannot stand to see other people being miserable. One wants to protect others from suffering. So these qualities of wanting others to be happy and well, not wanting them to suffer, or wanting to remove their suffering, these qualities develop when one keeps Sila. So this much, to have this feeling of the wish for others' welfare, wanting them not to suffer, and restraining one's actions and speech by keeping Sila. This is enough of a foundation to have in one's personal behavior. And so this type of person is suitable for yogis who are practicing to gain peace of mind and to gain knowledge. This is one of the things that makes a person a suitable guide. So just think about it. How would you feel towards such a person who has good moral behavior, who wishes for, you can feel they wish for your own welfare and they want to help others to not suffer? Would you feel friendly towards that person, or would you hate them? So of course, you would love a person like that. That's quite natural. And being beloved in that way is called Piya, P-I-Y-A in Pali. So what is the person beloved for? For their good moral behavior, for keeping the precepts. So to be, it is because of having a wish for others to be well and happy, and because of being considerate of how others are, that one is keeping sila, and because of this makes one beloved. And this quality is the first quality that a good spiritual friend should have. It's very important to have this quality. The second quality is to be worthy of respect. Garu in Pali, Garu. And this follows naturally from being of good moral behavior, wanting what is good for others, and wanting to remove their suffering. So this also is one of the qualities a good spiritual friend should have. So with these two qualities, being beloved, being worthy of respect, having polite or refined physical and verbal behavior towards others, others will respond. One will, because of the metta that one has for others reflect this metta back. They naturally will want that person to be well and happy. And this is the third quality that a good spiritual friend needs to have, to be the recipient of others' loving kindness, because of their establishment in sila, essentially. So these three qualities alone, being beloved, being worthy of respect, being the object of others' loving kindness, this alone does not make one a true spiritual teacher, good spiritual friend. The reason for this is that if one wants others' welfare, but when one sees the students doing something inappropriate, one doesn't point it out, then that's not really fulfilling one's responsibility. And if also one doesn't say what is correct, reinforce the positive, then this also is not correct. So a person who is grounded in sila, in loving kindness, compassion, and who's the recipient of other people's metta, that person should also be able to point out what is for the student's benefit. So this is the fourth quality that is needed, and it is called vatta, V-A-T-T-A. So the first three qualities and the fourth are connected, because if one does not possess the first three qualities, being beloved and respected because of one's morality, loving kindness and compassion, receiving the loving kindness of others, then it's not realistic to point out other people's faults. Because if one doesn't possess the quality oneself, if one tries to point out faults in others, then people are sure to say, this teacher doesn't do what he says. So people are sure to blame the teacher if they criticize without possessing the necessary qualities, the first three. So because one possesses good moral behavior oneself, one's actions and speech are appropriate. And when one knows this, when one sees the inappropriate behavior in one's students, then one points it out. One has a responsibility to point it out, and if one doesn't, then one is not fulfilling one's responsibility. So it is important to be able to tell people what is beneficial for them. It's a very important quality to have. Now further, some people have these qualities. They have good moral behavior, loving kindness, compassion, and can tell others what is necessary to say. But when it comes to receiving criticism from others, they do not like it. They don't like it if others see their faults and give them a warning about it. So this quality is called vachanakama, which is to be able to be patient and accepting, forbearing when others give you criticism, seeing your faults. So some people, when others come and give them a little bit of criticism, if that person is young, they don't like it. younger than them. And if the person is inexperienced, less experienced than them also, they don't accept. They just think, oh, he or she doesn't know as much as I do, so why should I accept what he or she is saying? But this is just pride, and this keeps us from being able to accept criticism. We should be patient in the face of criticism. When people see our faults and tell us, we should be able to bear it. And next is the quality of being able to explain about the profound Dhamma. This is a quality that a good spiritual friend needs to have. The profound Dhamma means the Four Noble Truths, the cycle of dependent origination, the practice of Satipatthana, which is included in the factors of enlightenment. These are things that a spiritual teacher, a good spiritual teacher, should be able to explain. And to be able to explain about the profound Dhamma means that, first of all, one needs to study to gain theoretical knowledge. And this is called Sutta Maya Jnana, for those who like Pali. This is knowledge born out of learning, theoretical knowledge. And then also one has to practice to gain practical knowledge by applying the theory that one has learned. And this is called Bhavana Jnana, that is knowledge born out of meditation. So only when we combine both the theoretical understanding with practical understanding can we explain about the practice in a realistic way. So this ability also is much needed. And the last quality that a good spiritual friend should have is that he or she should not use their students for their own benefit in an inappropriate way. Nocha tane niyojako. A good spiritual friend should be a person who does not urge others to do things that are to the teacher's own benefit, but are not appropriate for the student. One shouldn't ask or tell others to do such things, to say such things, or to plan such things. And that means that one should only tell people to do things or be involved in things that are pure and blameless. So if a person possesses all 7 of these qualities, then they're a suitable person to work with Satipatthana yogis practicing like this. And these 7 qualities were mentioned by the Buddha himself. So the reason why I mention these is because it's very important. You can see from hearing this list of qualities the problems that come up when these qualities aren't fulfilled. So you can, for example, a teacher who uses their students for their own benefit, or a person who doesn't instruct the yogis appropriately, won't point out their faults because they're too afraid to lose their students, for example. That can happen. So if you know what qualities a person should have, when you work with a teacher, you can see, does that person have these qualities or not? And if they don't, then it is not not good to get involved with such a person. In fact, it's good to use caution when you approach a teacher, because once you approach a teacher, it can be hard to move away from that person. And the Buddha there's a good example of this, of a wise way to approach a teacher in the scriptures. So this is just one example that I will mention, which is that there was a well-known teacher, a Brahmin, in the time of the Buddha. And he heard about the Buddha, and he was curious to know, because in the text that he had studied, it lists what are the signs that a Buddha has, a fully awakened person. There are specific signs that you can see on their body. And so he had studied this, and he was very curious to know, is this really the Buddha or not? He had many, many students. So although he was interested, he did not go to see the Buddha himself. He sent his most senior student to go and look at the Buddha and see if he had those marks that a Buddha should have. And in doing this, he was wise because if the student got into trouble, the teacher could extract him back. He could get him away if it turned out that the Buddha was not an appropriate teacher. But if the teacher had gone himself, then who would get him out? No one could get him out. So if the teacher happened to be inappropriate. So this is one example. These qualities are important to have, whether one is a spiritual teacher or not. A person who has these qualities is very, very beneficial in whatever walk of life they may be, and in whatever situation, whether this person is the head of the family, the head of a company, or the leader of a country. These qualities are very important to have. Someone asked at U Pandita one time what qualities a leader should have. And he said to understand the qualities of a good leader, one should first understand these qualities of a good spiritual friend. But he did not mention the ability to speak about the profound Dhamma. He mentioned all the other 6 qualities. So I've heard this repeatedly, and so learning about these qualities are not just so that you can identify a good teacher. It's also so that you know what qualities to develop in yourself if you want to be a teacher of others, and so that you can recognize also who is a good mentor, who is a good teacher, a good boss, and so on. It takes time to know what a person's character is like, so you have to take sufficient time to learn about a person in order to know do they have these qualities. If a person possesses these 7 qualities, they will naturally want to work for the welfare of others. And why this is because they are fulfilled. Being fulfilled with these qualities, they know not only what is good for themselves, but they also know what is good for this, what we call the sasana, the teachings of the Buddha, and for learning these trainings of morality, concentration, and wisdom. So one knows what one has trained oneself, and one knows what is good for oneself, and one also wants those within one's reach to improve and to progress with regard to their action, speech, and their mind. One wants them to gain knowledge. One wants them to overcome the difficulties that are caused by having attachments and mistaken ideas, and one wants them to gain peace. So such a person with these qualities will work in an appropriate way for the welfare of others. And this appropriate way of working is called in Pali anukampa. Anukampa is simply the appropriate, one inclines in the appropriate direction because of metta and karuna, wanting others' welfare and wanting them not to suffer. And I think one example of this is this center. I have to say, because the organizers have practiced themselves, and so they know what is a good environment for meditators. And they aim to provide that because they have seen the benefits of doing the practice themselves. And when people come here, they're able to develop concentration, they're able to learn about morality, develop concentration, and develop knowledge by following the practice. So this activity, this is what we call suitable activity out of anukampa is just translated as compassion, but its literal meaning is this suitable movement of the mind. And when one associates with a person or people that have this quality, then day by day one experiences progress. It's never going to lead to one's decline to connected with a good spiritual friend. It can only lead to progress. So anyhow, personally, I feel appreciation for the opportunity to share something of the Dhamma. Almost everything that I have said has been said before by Sayadaw U Pandita, who has been my primary teacher and for whom I translated for some time. And he and the teachers that he has trained are grounded in this theoretical and practical understanding. They develop the trainings of Sila, Samadhi, and Panya, each to the extent that they are able. And so I can simply say that this training of morality, of concentration and wisdom is very, very beneficial, because when we keep morality, we behave like a true human being. When we develop concentration, we keep our mind humane. We no longer give in to greed or anger and other unwholesome emotions. And when we develop knowledge, this makes what we understand very special, not ordinary. And if we develop ourselves in this way, we can be of great benefit to our families, to our work situation. Many people who practice meditation tell me about how appreciated they are by their coworkers, for example. That they, because of the practice, they're able to remain cool in a variety of situations. They deal with people because metta naturally develops. Metta naturally, because they have metta for others.
Oh, metta.
Through having practiced. So it's very, very beneficial to develop ourselves through this threefold training. If there are any things that I have said that are in error or done in error, it is not my teacher's fault. It is not the center's fault. It is only my limitation. I hope that all of you will continue to practice Sila, Samadhi, and Panya until you develop the highest knowledge and reach the highest peace. That's all for today. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.